Hello everybody and welcome to this seminar about starting a business. My name is Marie-Louise Costa. I have been a beauty therapist for almost 30 years and within my time in the industry I've worked within sales, training, business development, teaching at further education colleges, training privately for companies. I have owned high street salons, I have worked in other people's high street salons, I write for magazines, I work as a session manicurist, and I have my own business at home now. So I've done quite a variety of things within that period of time, so hopefully my knowledge that I'm going to pass on to you now will be of use to you. We're in a very strange time at the moment because we are, although I think some people have forgotten, we are still living within a pandemic, and that has made business quite different for all industries, particularly ours. And for a lot of you, you might be finding that you are having your hours cut because your salon that you are working in is not very busy, or worse still, you may have been made redundant. For a lot of you who've not long qualified, you might be struggling to find work at all. So my seminar today, albeit virtually, is going to go through with you the things that you need to look at and consider when you're starting a business. And I'm particularly going to focus on home-based and mobile businesses because they are the easiest and the probably cheapest, for the want of a better expression, way of starting your business to begin with. And a lot of people start off home-based, or they start off on a mobile basis and build up their clientele, and then they move into a salon, or they rent a room in a salon, or they open their own salon completely. So it's not that you may always be home-based or mobile. It might lead you on to other things. It depends on what your business plan is and what you really want to get from it. But that's kind of what I'm going to focus on more today. So we'll start with home-based. There are some similarities between home-based and mobile, but let's start with home-based businesses. The thing I cannot stress enough, the most important thing that I think is really, really important when it comes to having a home-based salon, is that you have a designated area. Now, I've known and I've met people in the past who've done nail treatments across their dining room table, they've set up a couch in the living room, they've even set up a couch in the children's bedrooms when they're at school. For me, that is absolutely not acceptable. That is not professional at all. When a client comes into a treatment room, whether it's in your home, whether it's in a spa, whether it's in a high street salon, it should be a very professional setup. And the room within your house, albeit it's in your house, should be no different to the room that they would walk into if they saw you in a salon. Okay? So cornering off an area in the living room, the dining room, setting up in the kitchen or whatever is just not acceptable. You are expecting the client to spend money to pay for your service, and you have to provide her or him with a proper salon experience. And it's the same for when you're mobile. I know that you're in somebody else's house, you don't have the same control over the heating, you might think it's quite cold in there, the client is comfortable enough. Somebody may come running through it with their football kit. Those things are out of your control. But still, you should go with all of your professional equipment, dressed professionally, take music with you, take as much as you can to turn that area of which you can work, because you're beholden to them to allocate you an area. They might say to you, I'll push the dining room table over, will that be all right over there? And it might not be big enough, it might not be ideal, but you kind of have to work with what you've got in somebody else's house. But in both situations, you have to make the ambience, the area, the room as professional and as salon-like as possible. So when you're considering whether to be mobile or based at home, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, have you got room at home? Can you physically have a treatment room designated entirely for you and your work within the house? And if you can, great. In an ideal world, you want it as close to the front door as possible, or better still, have its own entrance. So when I first started working from home, which is almost 10 years ago, I had a room at the top of the stairs. Now our hallway and our stairs are separate to the living room. So the client would walk in through the front door, straight up the stairs, and the room was at the top of the stairs. The bathroom was next to it, and it was all wonderful. It wasn't quite the setup I wanted, but it worked. I had an extension bill, and that was the plan. So it was only temporary. And now when clients come in, they walk down inside the house behind this wall here, and they come round through into a door over there, and there's a toilet and everything behind all of here. So it's entirely enclosed and completely separate. That was always my long-term plan, because I was hoping to have a family, and I was lucky enough that I did have a daughter. So yeah, that was, well, I do have a daughter, not that I did, but yeah, so it needs to have its own area that is easily accessible. You don't want clients having an entire tour of your house to get to the room that is going to be their treatment, to walk past your husband while he's trying to watch the football, the kids while they're eating their dinner in the dining room. It needs to be professional, okay? If you are going to work from home, if you have a room that is suitable, that the client can access, that, you know, it suits everybody and it's great, a couple of people you need to speak to. First of all, you need to speak to the local council. Whilst you will probably be exempt from business rates, they still need to be aware that you are running a business from home. There are other considerations such as parking, your neighbours, etc, etc. I'm very lucky I have a driveway big enough for 2 cars. We have 2 cars, as most families do. Generally my husband is out of the house for work, although not quite so much at the moment, but we just always ensure that we move at least 1 car. I only ever have 1 client in at a time. Some of them walk, but for the ones that drive, you know, I always just make sure that there is 1 space on the drive at all times. So you need to consider parking, but you do need to speak to the council. They will just want to be aware that you are working from home. I would always just have a quick word with your neighbours as well and just tell them what you're planning to do. You want things to be as friendly and, you know, hassle-free as possible. So yeah, speak to the neighbours. But yeah, speak to the council with regards to that. You will also need to speak to environmental health, who are normally based at your council offices. Equally, the council offices, if they're not there, will have a contact number that you can get hold of environmental health. They varies from areas of the country to other areas of the country, but they will generally be quite interested because of the nature of our work. They will particularly want to come and visit you if you're offering any form of piercing or electrolysis. There are specific bylaws, albeit them hundreds of years old, that you will have to work within the guidelines of, and they will go through that with you. And they will just want to come out and just do a bit of a spot check and make sure that you have a sharps box for electrolysis, you know, how you're going to dispose of it and so on. You will be, or should be, issued with a certificate, like a licence. My council at the time of me registering, which as I say is about 10 years ago, there wasn't a fee. I believe there is a fee now, albeit I seem to be exempt from the fee because I was registered beforehand. I hope that remains the case. So just check with your council or with your environmental health as to whether you need to have a licence. The other thing I would say is that some areas of the country will also expect you to have a licence for massage. I don't know if it's still the case, but years ago I used to teach in Nottingham, and via Nottingham City Council I had to have a licence to be able to perform massage in order to teach it, and obviously those that were on courses and were then going to offer massage within salons and so on also had to have this licence. It was about £20 or £25 a year. It wasn't dramatically expensive, but obviously you need to comply, so just check that. I have also heard of some areas of the country requesting that you have a licence to offer manicure and pedicure services, which I absolutely welcome and would just throw a party if all councils did that. My council don't, because I did check with them. But yes, just check with council environmental health as to if there are any specific guidelines or regulations, licences and so on for the treatments which you are planning to offer. When you're mobile, you don't really, you kind of slip through the net really. Because you don't have a set base, yeah, you just carry on. I would, if you are going to do an electrolysis or piercing or anything like that mobile, I would still contact environmental health and just explain to them what you're going to be doing, because it's a slightly different situation because you're going to be less in control of the surroundings in which you're doing it. So I'm not quite sure. I've never tried to do electrolysis mobile, so I'm not quite sure how that will work. So just speak to environmental health. They're normally very helpful. But yeah, just make sure that you've covered all eventualities there. You need to speak to your home insurers. At the time of me starting working from home, there were only 2 home insurers that would cover me for the type of work I was doing. If you were at home and you're doing some sort of admin, and let's face it, half the country are working from home at the moment, and you're doing some sort of administration where the public are not coming onto the house, it is far easier. But because of the nature of our job and people coming into the house, the potential hazards, they might slip on the pavement outside or trip over as they walk through, you know, whatever, you do need to speak to your home insurers. When I first started working from home, there were only 2 home insurance companies that would cover me. One was absolutely astronomically expensive, as you can imagine, and one very well-known company were not. So, surprise, surprise, I went with them, and I'm still with them now. So, just ask the question. You obviously need professional insurance as well, but always check with your home insurance company. You will also need to speak to your mortgage advisor. If you don't have a mortgage, great, but do check the deeds of your house. A lot of house deeds will have certain clauses about working from home, albeit houses, depending on how old your house is, you can normally get around that. As I say, an awful lot of people work from home, not even just because of COVID, but a lot of people work from home anyway. So do check that. But your mortgage provider will need to be informed that you are using your home as a business. Mine were not particularly, I say not bothered, it was just they needed to be informed of it. It didn't alter my mortgage, but they had to be informed of it. What all mortgage companies are like, I'm not entirely sure, but you do, legally, you have a duty to tell them. If you're renting, it's a slightly different situation because you don't own the house. And this can become quite a grey area actually, because if you start running a business and you haven't told your landlord, and God forbid a client trips down the stairs over a loose carpet or slips or trips on a loose patio slab or something, technically the landlord is going to be responsible, and obviously the landlord doesn't know you're working from home and perhaps hasn't given permission for you to do so. His insurance doesn't cover it, and it creates quite a snowball of a very stressful situation that could have very easily been avoided if you just spoke to your landlord. Some landlords will probably say no, and just as many will probably say yes, it's fine. But again, out of duty, you must tell them. They will need to contact their mortgage provider if they have a mortgage. They will need to contact their home insurers. If the home insurance goes up, which mine did, then perhaps you could liaise with the landlord that you pay whatever the difference is. If you're responsible for insuring the home, then again, that's slightly different, but you do need to tell the landlord because ultimately it is his or her property that you are planning to run a business from. And you wouldn't want the neighbours to just go and say to the landlord, oh, you know, she's doing, treatments in the back bedroom or whatever it is that you might be doing. If you're renting and it's social housing, shared ownership or anything like that, you'll need to speak to the the housing company or the company that are part of the shared ownership, just to check again that you are allowed to do so, because it might be that you aren't. And if you aren't, don't be deflated, because the chances are that you could start mobile, or maybe you could find a room to rent in a local hairdresser's or a wellbeing clinic or something like that. So don't be deflated, but everything has to be in place, because you don't want to get it all set up, spend money, and then something happens and your landlord finds out, or your home insurance, and then it all has to go to the wayside. So yeah, just get all of these things in place first of all. I say to everybody that running a business, you have to, and I'm going to come on to business plans, you have to plan and prepare everything, because you want it to be a strong and sound structure. It's like building a house without foundations, isn't it? It won't be that strong and sound structure. So let's say you've got permission from everybody, everybody's great, everything's fine. Yes, you're going to start working from home and that's all lovely. And now what you need to do is to consider the kind of things you're going to offer, but also set working hours. Be strict with your set working hours. Discuss with your family what is going to work for you as a family. Now, if you live on your own, great, work whatever hours you like. Obviously be mindful of neighbours and things, but yeah, you can ultimately work whatever you like. If you live with a husband, wife, partner, you need to discuss between the two of you. What hours are they working? Do you just work the same hours? What is going to be a good work-life balance in that respect? If you have children, obviously that brings in another factor of school runs, childcare, etc., etc. When I first started working from home, we were married, but we didn't have any children, and I used to do 9 in the morning until 9 in the evening. My husband would normally get home from work at about 7 or so. Not that I ever noticed, because obviously we were upstairs and he would come in through the back door and be downstairs. And then Saturdays I would do a shorter day. I used to do something like 9 till 3. Then about, so my daughter's 5 now, so yeah, about 5 years later, I had my daughter, and my working time changed because partly for me, from a personal point of view, I'd really struggled to have a baby, so I really wanted to spend as much time with her as possible, and for us to have, a nice strong relationship. I didn't really want to be leaving her with child. For me, there was no point in me having her if I was going to just leave her at a nursery. So for the first 2 years, I worked only the evenings and did a very long day on a Saturday. So my evenings would be 6 in the evening until 11 in the evening, because literally my husband would come home, I'd pass her over like a baton, there'd be a quick sort of conflab, a debrief of my day, and then I would go off to work, literally through the door. I would then do a Saturday, and my Saturday would be something like 8 in the morning until 9 or 10 in the evening. So a very long day. We would have a family day on a Sunday. It seemed at the time I was exhausted, because obviously during the day I'm childcare and going to clubs and just being mum. And I was very, very tired, and my husband and I didn't have a lot of time with each other, but it suited our family. And now I look back, it was such a short period of time actually. And then she started nursery when she was 2, just did a few hours. So I increased my hours, did a little bit less on an evening. And now she's at school. And so I do all day, every day. I go and collect her from school. We have a couple of hours together, and I start again in the evening, a little bit like a split shift, I suppose. And now I do a shorter Saturday, so as we get more family time. So I have moulded my business to suit me, certainly. I haven't lost any clients whatsoever. Most of my clients are working mums, or retired, or just really want to see me, and they're happy to work within the hours that I'm working. I've always offered a minimum of about 35 hours a week, so there kind of isn't any excuse not to get in. That's what worked for us. So you need to work out what is going to work for you and how that is going to work best, and it will change and it will evolve as time goes on. But have set hours and be strict about them. The same with being mobile. Have your set hours and be strict about them. Of course, there will be times where you just think, oh yeah, I will get that lady in. I don't mind working a bit later tonight because I'm starting a bit later tomorrow. But as much as we want to say yes to everybody because we don't want to say no to anybody, we all need the work, especially at the moment, you do still need to have a life. So have set hours, and like I say, you might deviate every now and again, but advertise those hours, and those are the hours in which you work. The thing with working hours, particularly when you're mobile, is the lost time you're going to have. So that is something quite key to consider. When you're based at home, it's like being in a salon. So for me, I might start work I normally start about 8:30 because my daughter's at school for 8 o'clock. So I would start at 8:30, and my first client will be in, that's when she'll be in, however long that takes me, and then the next client. And I always worked back to back. Now it's very different, because although I would always clean and wipe round in between everybody very quickly, I now have longer to clean in between everyone because of COVID. I have PPE charges, and I do have some lost time. So my prices went up because of the lost time, because of the PPE, the prices had to go up. When you're mobile, there can be quite a lot of lost time. You won't have the cleaning in the same way, but you'll have the travelling. So plan your diary well. So you are in a particular area at a particular time or for a particular day. Don't be running around like a mad fool going to see Brenda down the road for 9 o'clock, finish there at 10, but the next lady's 40 minutes away, and then by the time you've set up there it's another 15 minutes, let's say. So you can lose up to an hour where you've not earned anything. So at the end of the day you could be absolutely exhausted from running around, but you may have only seen 3 or 4 clients and not earned enough money. So plan your diary well, minimise your lost time. But the other thing I would say about being mobile is charge for travel. And I know that might sound a bit, oh God, no, I can't do that because I just need to get clients in and it's really difficult at the moment. I understand that, I really do. But you will end up, it's almost costing you to work. So it's pointless you doing it anyway. So what I would suggest you do is have a set mile radius. So let's say, for example, to begin with, within the first 5 miles of wherever you're based from, this is the price. Between 5 and 10 miles, there's a travel surcharge, for example, of, I don't know, £5, £3, whatever you want to make it, you need to work that out. Anything beyond that, and so on. Because it has to be worth your while. You have to earn money. And I know that with mobile and with home-based, to be fair, a lot of clients will, not all of them, but a lot of them will think that you should be cheaper than the salon because you don't have the same overheads. Well, I would argue that actually you do, they're not the same overheads, but you do still have overheads. And being mobile or home-based, you'll generally be working alone. So your earning potential is less than if you owned a salon and have 4 or 5 girls working for you. So actually, you know, you've still got wear and tear on the car, you've still got mortgages to pay and everything else. So yeah, you still don't undervalue yourself. You have to still charge a good price, and we'll go into pricing in a moment. But do always account for your lost time. With mobile, you obviously don't have to contact your home insurance, but you do need to contact your car insurance provider because you will now be using your car as a business tool. And so therefore your price, your insurance will go up. But yeah, you do need to contact them. You also, if your car is leased, you'll need to contact the lease company because quite often there is a restriction on how many miles you can travel within a year. And usually you can travel more, but you will then end up paying an extra charge for going over that kind of magic number. So do also speak to them. There are quite a lot of costs involved with well, there is with home, but there are quite a few costs involved with cars that people sometimes forget about. So things like obviously the wear and tear. Everybody always thinks about the diesel, but as I say, your insurance will go up. You've got the wear and tear on your car and the servicing and the MOTing and everything else. So yeah, you must factor those in when you're putting your prices together. In both instances, I would also just like to raise the safeguarding aspect. Nobody wants to think that something might happen to them, that they're, you know, somebody makes an appointment and they turn out to be less than honest in what their intention was for coming in for their treatment. So particularly if you're starting a new business and all of your clients are new, I would always, both mobile and home-based, I would always just speak to your partner, husband, wife, or a friend or somebody and just say, look, this is my day. I'm going to text you what my appointment times are, and I'm going to text you in between my appointments just so you know I'm okay, because I've got lots of new clients in. There might be male clients, there might be people that you've just never met and that you just want to be safe about. Particularly if you're mobile, I would always make sure somebody knows where you are, what kind of area you're in. So are you in such and such a place today? Are you somewhere else tomorrow? And if it's a new client or you're just a bit unnerved or concerned about something, just text whoever before you go in. Say, well, I'm going into this appointment now. I'll text you in an hour's time. If I don't text you, can you ring me and just see if I'm okay? And do it like that. If you're at home, maybe have your, I don't like mobile phones in treatment rooms, but maybe have your mobile phone in a drawer or something, and if the new client arrives and you've done the consultation and you just think, I've got a funny feeling about this person, I'm not very comfortable, whilst they're getting ready for their treatment, just nip outside with your phone, And again, just sort of text a friend and say, look, I've got a client in, I'm not really sure. It's a half an hour, 45-minute treatment. I'll give you a ring in 45 minutes, and if I don't, can you just nip round or give me a ring? Nobody wants to think these things are going to happen, but you do have to be careful, is all I'm saying. So you've got the go-ahead from the car insurance or from the lease company, you've got the go-ahead from your mortgage provider and everything else, and you're now about to embark on starting a business. What are you going to do first? Well, let me tell you what everybody does first. Everybody comes up with a business name first. And I know it's very exciting to do, but it's probably one of the least important things you're going to do. The first thing you need to do, yawn, boring, money. How much money have you got? How much money can you afford to spend? You must work out your setup costs. It might be that you already have some equipment. You may already have a couch and some quite big equipment that you don't need to buy. Great, but it's surprising how expensive things like towels are going to be. So if you're at home, I mean, my washing machine, my poor washing machine is on all the time. If you're at home, you don't need quite so many towels because you can be washing, drying them and using them again. If you're mobile and you're working all day, that can be quite a lot of towels that at the end of the working day, you've then got to get home and wash and probably won't get dry before the next morning. So you're going to need a fresh set, and towels are actually quite expensive. So there's lots of little costs that people forget about. Draw up a list of everything that you're going to need and everything that you would like to start with, then let's say, and then go through it, price it all up. It's going to be an awful lot more because you could go wild in the aisles. It's going to be an awful lot more probably than you've got or than you were planning to spend or than is realistic to spend actually to begin with, because you may not be that busy for the first couple of months. If you've got savings, those savings are going to have to see you through. So don't spend everything straight away on setup costs. What do you actually need? So maybe you're qualified in everything, but you're only going to start by offering things like nails, waxing, eye treatments. Or maybe you're only going to start with offering facials, massage. You don't have to offer everything straight away. It's actually very nice to introduce things a little bit further down the line, because then clients feel like, you know, the business is growing and there's other things available to them, and you could do a bit of market research. You might be trained in something that none of your target market or none of the clients you've attracted actually want. So there's no point in you going to the expense of bringing it in, because it could be quite expensive. So work out what equipment you need and what you're going to offer, and have a budget in mind. Now, when it comes to equipment, there are lots of places that you can buy second-hand equipment. There's lots of pages on Facebook and things, which is great. And I would always look, if it's been well looked after and pat tested, if it's electrical, I would always have a little look and see if there is a second-hand option to save you a little bit of money. But don't cut corners and don't just buy off Amazon or anywhere else. I see this regularly. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm particularly passionate about people having the right things. When I used to work for a very well-known skincare company, and I used to travel around the country, I remember going into hair and beauty salons and being sat in the staff room talking to the salon owner about new products and things and how business was going, whilst the junior was filling the Redken bottles up with Tesco Value shampoo and things like that. And that kind of thing really, really grinds my gears, because if you are telling a client you are offering a particular service, that's what you have to offer them. You can't charge them for that service and then diddle them. So if you are saying that you're doing shellac manicures, that's what you're doing. You have all the preparation products, you have all the polishes, you have the correct lamp. I read this all the time and it really drives me mad. So for the people at the back who still don't seem to get the message, because I see this almost daily. Somebody's setting up a business, they're on Facebook and they say, what lamp does everybody recommend I get? And I find myself shouting at my iPad. They can't hear me, obviously. The neighbours probably can. And I'm shouting, you need the lamp that goes with your product. people still don't seem to be getting it. From that point of view, there are allergies to consider. Besides the fact that you are saying you're offering a, let's say, shellac service, there are allergies to consider. The product isn't going to last as well. There are lots of other implications. If you are offering a shellac gel manicure, that's you have the full system. If you're offering an artistic gel manicure, you have the full system. You don't cut corners. So if you can't afford that to begin with and you buy a cheaper brand, that's fine. Do your research, make sure it works, make sure it lasts, it's everything that you're looking for, but buy all of the products that correspond with what you need. The same with facials. You might buy a cheaper facial brand to begin with. Maybe you can't afford any of the really expensive ones that can be thousands to open an order. But that's fine. But do it well is basically what I'm saying. When I started out, I had a skincare brand and it was good. But I introduced a second one, which actually, as sort of time went on, I introduced this second one, which was different and actually became more popular. And it just wasn't cost effective for me to offer the original one, which I eventually phased out. I have two skincare ranges again now. They're very, very different and they provide a different type of treatment with a different type of result. So they work very well because they are so different. But I would never suggest you start off with two skincare brands or have two nail brands or anything like that. Do your research. Obviously, this is where a trade show would be absolutely ideal and invaluable to you, and they aren't going to be happening. But companies I have found companies to be very accessible and really very responsive to the fact that their customer service needs to be a bit different to normal. And they kind of need to up it a gear. I've even had the MD of one of the companies that I've got here come to visit me. I didn't need anything, but he just wanted to keep in contact, which I really valued actually, and I felt valued as a customer. So if there are brands that you'll probably look at brands that you've worked with before or trained with, but do you really like them? And if you don't really like them, or they don't really do everything you need them to do, or if every other business in the high street near to you, or mobile people near to you, or people based at home are offering the same brand, I would suggest you look at something else, because if the client can already get it, it's going to be harder work for you to convince them to come to you. You want something different to your competitors. So at this time, I would contact the companies, do your research. They probably won't be sending any reps out, I shouldn't think. But if they're not, they'll probably send you some product to try. You can speak over Zoom, do some sort of webinar training. There are ways that they can still service you so you can get up and running and you can make sure that you've made the right decision. So make a list, work out what treatments you're going to offer, research brands and have a budget in mind. Don't rush into it. I realise that you maybe aren't earning any money at the moment if you've been made redundant, if you can't find a job, but you don't want to make mistakes. I've seen lots of people that have started a business and they've had a brand and about 3 or 4 months later suddenly they've got a different brand because the first one actually wasn't that good and they didn't really realise because they didn't really do their research. So now they've got something else because they've taken the advice of somebody on Facebook. So really do your research and make sure that you are 100% happy and 100% confident in the products that you are offering to your client, because ultimately you want the client to come back, so it needs to be good. It needs to be something worth coming back for. So you need to write a business plan. And the most important question you're going to ask yourself in this business plan is, what is your why? Why are you starting a business? And yes, you might be starting it because suddenly you find yourself unemployed and you don't really know what else to do. And that's fine. If that's your why, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have done it eventually. And that doesn't mean that, being made redundant actually may be the best thing that ever happens to you, because it may push you into doing something that you always wanted to do, but you were too afraid to do it. And now you kind of have no choice but to do it. So work out what your why is. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? There is no limit. There really isn't. And you might look at it and think, oh, I'll never achieve that. Oh, I'd love to do this, but I don't think I can. Yes, you can. I always wanted to work backstage at fashion shows. And I thought, oh, I can't. I always wanted to see my work in vogue, and I thought, oh, I never will, that doesn't happen to people like me. Well, I've done all of it. I've done all of it and more, in fact. And it was kind of something that after I had my daughter, I kind of looked at her and thought, I'm the closest female that she is potentially going to look up to. And I want her to be proud. I want to be proud, but I want her to be proud and see that mummy achieves things, and for that to kind of inspire her to achieve whatever it is that she wants to achieve, which currently is world #1 tennis player, which she doesn't get from me because I can't play tennis. But she has this drive and this enthusiasm and this determination and this little competitive streak that is all very, very familiar to me. So, yeah, you need to have dreams and ambitions. There is nothing wrong with that. And as I say, make them as wild. You could think that they are ridiculous, but actually, if you work hard, you will achieve them. So have some goals, have things you want to achieve, have a time frame. And of course, what you want to achieve may take a little bit longer at the moment because of COVID and the way that business is and the way that the economy is. That doesn't mean you won't achieve it. It may take a little harder work and it may take a little bit longer, but still write them down, have them there, have them in your mind. Review your business plan regularly. Review your goals, your ambitions, your targets, have financial targets. There will be a minimum amount of money you need to earn every day. And I don't mean takings, because I've seen a lot of webinars where people have said, you know, earn £1,000 a week. You're not earning £1,000 a week, you're taking £1,000 a week, absolutely. You're taking £5,000 a month or whatever, absolutely. But that's not what you're earning, because all of your costs have to come out of that. So work out how much you have to physically earn, how much has to be left over. So if you're doing let's take a facial, and let's say it's costing you about £6.50 to do. Now look, I realise that working at costings is really very boring, but it has to be done. You can't just look at what everybody else is charging and hope for the best. You are different to them. You are offering something different in a different environment, whether mobile or at home. Your experience is different, your skill is different, your education is different. So don't undervalue any of those things and don't compare yourself with everybody else. Worry about them later. Contact whatever brands you decide upon, contact them. They will have a list of costings as to what each treatment service costs. So that's your starting point. To that, you will have to add probably consumables, because they don't usually account for that in them. You will need to add the cost of your insurance, so plus your home insurance or car insurance, depending on where you're working. Heating, lighting if you're at home, water, etc. Laundry. With mobile, don't need to worry about heating and lighting quite so much, but you'll still have laundry costs. Things like the wear and tear on your car, your fuel. So you have to take absolutely everything into account that it costs you to do that job. So let's say with a facial, let's say my end figure by the time I've added everything else in is, let's say £15, makes life easy, doesn't it? So let's say it's £15, right. Then to that you need to add how much you want to earn within that hour. What is worth your while? You might take what you were earning at the salon you were working at before, for example, which may have been £10 an hour. So you might be thinking £25, yeah, I'm happy with that. Well, £25, not a lot for a facial, depending on the type of facial. So, the time it's taking. So if you did that 7 times within the day, that's your day gone, and you physically earned £70. Is £70 at the end of that day enough money for you to live on? Possibly not. So really do look at every little intricate detail and how much you want to earn within that hour. So for me, my magic number is £60. And that is to take £60 in that hour and then take all my costs and everything out of it, and I've looked at every treatment I do or everything I can do within an hour, and that leaves me with the kind of money I want to be earning at the moment that is good for my family. So look at everything. Then you can look to see what everybody else is charging. I am by far not the cheapest person in my area, but then, and I'm not one for talking about myself, but then there's nobody else in my area that has the experience I've got, the education that I've got, the skill, the knowledge. And all of that comes at a price, and it's the same for you. You have to charge. Do not undervalue you, because the client is coming for you just as much as she is for the service. So yeah, work out what your magic number is. All of that needs to be on your business planning. You need to have a financial target of how much you need to earn every day in order for you to just be able to live and ideally make a little bit of extra profit that you can reinvest back into the business. So go to your brands, get their costings. Then look at everybody else's prices. I mean, if suddenly you're charging £100 for something that everybody else is only charging £30 for, you might have to have a little look. But yeah, factor in all of those other things about you and who you are and what you bring to the service. Once you've got all that in place, you've got your business plan, you've chosen your product, you've chosen the name, you've got everything ready. How are you going to get any clients? Well, when you're mobile and when you're home-based, you are almost invisible, really. A lot of people don't know that you exist because they don't walk past you. So unless you shout about yourself, they're not going to know who you are. So the first thing to do is, I would say, set up some social media pages, because it's free, it's easy, and every man and his dog is on some form of social media. Facebook will be the most popular, without doubt. There's often lots of pages on Facebook with regards to like marketplace or local sales pages and things. I'm not a massive fan. I'm not a massive fan of promotions, if I'm perfectly truthful. But at the moment, even I found myself having to offer promotions to try and encourage people through the door. It's a weird time at the moment because clients are falling into several different camps. You have clients who still haven't come out and are frightened too, which I understand. You then have a selection of clients who have lasted that long without you that they'll last a little bit longer. And maybe have longer in between their treatments. You've got the clients who are on furlough, which obviously is coming to an end. And those furloughed clients, yes, their wages might be just about covering their essential bills, but it doesn't leave them anything for a luxury. And then you've got the people who are either worried about redundancy or have been made redundant. You've equally got clients, I've got some more mature clients who are retired, they're earning nothing on their savings. So they're tightening their belts. So everybody is affected. And so I have offered a couple of promotions. I'm not, as I say, I'm not a big fan of them. I think you have to be very wise with them. You will often see people on social media offering gel manicures for £5 when it's costing them more than £5 to do, or facials for £15 or whatever. I think that screams desperation, personally, and I can't be dealing with it. It just is not. It's not the type of clientele I want. They're not going to be long-term clients. They're not going to be. They're clients who are looking for a deal, and those are not the kind of clients you're going to build your businesses on. Because we will come out of this pandemic at some point, and then your business will grow even more. But you need to have priced yourself properly, to have attracted the right type of client, to get the right kind of loyalty, and then after it will just snowball. So I'm more of a fan of adding value to things. So things like offering a scrub with a back massage or a full body massage. I've done a couple of things where I've taken one of my more advanced massages, albeit a manual massage that doesn't really cost me a lot more to do, and offering it the same price as a slightly cheaper full body massage, just to show clients the other type of massage is available. I've packaged treatments together. I've worked out that the least I want to take within an hour is £45. And so within an hour, I could do 2 little mini treatments. So it might be file and polish with normal polish. It might be a mini Indian head massage, a mini reflexology session, something that isn't costing you a lot to do, but is nice to have. And putting the two together, so giving a list of about 6 treatments and saying to clients, choose 2 of these for £45, come and have an hour's pamper. So it's more about adding value, I think, and positioning your promotions in the right way. Some of these sales pages on Facebook are great, some of them not so much. So just be mindful as to where you are advertising yourself and how that makes your brand look to people looking on. What kind of message that leaves them with. But yes, Facebook page, Instagram. I don't find Twitter works particularly well for my business. it's a bit too far a reach really. I kind of did a bit of market research with my clients to see what social media platforms they used. Everybody used Facebook. About 3/4 of them used Instagram. So those are the two. To be truthful, most of my work if it comes from social media, it comes from Facebook. Other work that I do, sort of session work, would come more from Instagram because it's like an online portfolio. But yeah, they're free. With Facebook, you need to be very active on it and you need to make sure that you are regularly posting. I don't have the time to do that during the week, so I spend a Sunday evening, it's all very rock and roll here, I spend a Sunday evening putting together my Facebook plan and scheduling my posts for the week ahead. I normally have between 6 and 8 posts every day. I might jump on in between, I might do a Facebook Live if I've got a gap, I might add some information if a last minute slot has come up, but have a regular drip feed of posts going out to your clients, just so as every time they look on it, there you are, you just keep coming up. Get them to share your page with their friends, ask them to leave reviews. So yeah, really make it quite active and interactive, ask questions, start conversations. I've got a lot of clients that were on my Facebook page for a long time before they came in because they kind of got to know me through that and then thought, yeah, I really like her, she does know what she's talking about, and then made appointments. Websites are also very important. I know at one point a lot of people use their Facebook pages as their website. I don't think it's ideal really. Everybody's on Google as well, aren't they? And if you want something, if somebody says to you, do you know a decent plumber? No, I'll Google it. So yeah, get yourself a good website. Again, they don't have to, websites can be expensive, but they don't have to be. You can build your own. Time consuming, yes. Frustrating at times, certainly. Worth it in the end, absolutely. And think of the money you've saved. I am not technologically minded at all. I can shop online, I can messenger, I can upload my Facebook. But yeah, I'm not technologically minded at all. And my nephew, who is, that is the nature of his job, and he can build a computer from literally nothing, and he's all very, very clever. I built my website years ago and I update it regularly. That's the other thing with them. If they're yours and you've built it, you can keep updating it. Put a new offer on there every month, change a picture. The more you update it, the more Google recognises it, the higher you'll rank. It's another seminar for another day, but yeah, do that. Anyway, so I sent him the link to this website I built. I said, George, what do you think of this? And he phoned me and he said, who built this for you? And I said, nobody, I built it myself. And he said, well, you can't have done. I said, why not? He said, because it's actually very good and very user-friendly, and started prattling on about this, that and the other. I updated it and changed it a bit over lockdown, and I do change it regularly. And then I always put a little link on the Facebook page and just say to clients, I've updated the website, have a look, let me know what you think. Their feedback's really important. There are things that I look at it, but I'm very much a therapist, aren't I? So I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Client looks at it and they're maybe looking for something different or don't understand an explanation or something. So yeah, always get somebody else to have a little look through it. As I say, it is time consuming, but it is a lot cheaper. As time goes on, you could maybe pay somebody to build one for you, see how much work you get through the website, but it's definitely a presence. It will be like your shop window, because when you're mobile and home-based, you can have this car sign written if it's your car. I would recommend it, or get some magnets. It's like free advertising as you're driving around. But at home, you're not going to be able to put a sign on front of the house. So you're both quite invisible. So as much as you can, exhaust all the free options and ways of advertising yourself. Things like getting in touch with local journalists, local newspapers and magazines, enticing them to have a treatment, see if you can do some, and they'll write an article about it for you, offer a competition maybe, start to build a bit of a database of clients or people that you could contact, obviously as long as they've given their permission for you to do so. You could do things like obviously leaflet drops, which I know are very old-fashioned. They do still work. Don't be disheartened with them. You'll probably give out 1,000 leaflets and get 4 or 5 people back, but they're 4 or 5 people that you wouldn't have had. And there was something years ago that I read that from a prospective client's point of view, you need to reach them in like 5 to 7 different ways or something from a marketing point of view. So they might have seen your car drive along with your sign on it. They might have seen your Facebook page or a Facebook post on something. Now they've had your leaflet through your letterbox. They've come across your website when they've Googled something. They've seen you in a magazine. They've seen your poster up in the hairdressers or whatever. And suddenly they're like, oh, I keep seeing her. I'm going to give her a ring. So you've got to exhaust all options. At the moment, it's going to be too difficult to do events or anything like that because of restrictions on numbers. I did a few events with a local business who I knew, very, very well established and very well known, but they'd started a new part to their business, which was a cookery school, which they didn't have before. And so I used the facility, not the kitchen, but other rooms. So clients of mine saw the cookery school. Clients of theirs saw me, I did some demonstrations, they catered for it, and it worked really well for both of us. So once we're out of this pandemic, that's definitely things that I would recommend. But in the meantime, there are still other ways to network. Find local hair salons, slimming clubs, running clubs, exercise classes, local independent clothes shops that kind of cater for the sort of clientele that you're looking to attract. Do talks on other people's Facebook pages. So I did quite a few during lockdown. There's a local lady who's a fitness instructor and runs classes. So I did some talks on her page about sun cream and various other things. She did some little demos and little classes on my page, morning stretch routines and things like that. And that worked very well. So whilst it might have to be virtual, there are still ways of doing it. Offer free consultations. Look, whilst I'm not a big fan of free and promotions, if you have nobody booked in, on your Facebook page you can quite easily offer free consultations, 15 minutes, go through your skincare, nail care, whatever. And the client you can do it via FaceTime or Zoom or something like that. And they can get to know you while you're doing it, but you can do a 15-minute consultation. That might follow through into a sale of product or into a treatment booking. Equally, it starts to build a bit of a database. You could send them a little voucher, as a little introduction to me. Hope you enjoyed your online consultation. Here's a £5 voucher for your next facial or whatever, to entice them to book and to show that you value them as a potential customer. So there are still ways of interacting with people and doing things, albeit that maybe we can't, like in a large group, we can't do it en masse. You could do a Zoom call with a group of people and do a makeup masterclass. You could do demonstrations of some treatments that you do. Again, you could do it as a Facebook Live even. But if you wanted to do it in a way that you sort of had a specific audience that you could sort of tap into after, rather than a mass audience, then you could do it as a sort of ticket only, but on a Zoom call situation, and then everybody who attends gets a free gift, a free voucher, something you can email to them, so like a free voucher, or better still, a little pack of samples, a little free skincare gift when you come in for your next facial, or something like that. Be inventive. Try and think outside of the box of how you can still reach people en masse without obviously being able to have a mass of people. I do quite a few demos in here, obviously not this year, and they do work very well. But yeah, maybe just kind of pivot it and do it online. I've done a few things online during lockdown where I was doing facial demonstrations, sort of a step-by-step facial. We had a Friday night pamper night, clients and I was going through step-by-step facial routine. Clients bought the products beforehand, so I was still kind of ticking over some money. And then I went through how to use them during this little sort of pamper party. And it worked very, very well. So I just think if you're not doing anything anyway, you haven't got to leave the house, you could be like a newsreader. You could have a very smart top on the top and your pyjama bottoms on the bottom. This is a dress, so I don't have my pyjama bottoms on. It's also the middle of the day. But yeah, there are ways of still capturing an audience, is what I'm trying to say, basically. What you have to remind yourself and what you really have to not fall into the trap of, is that this is not a hobby, this is a business. This has to make you money, this is your livelihood, this is going to help to support your family or yourself, or whatever it is. This is a business. And whilst there are times, and I know for me there were times when, after I had my daughter and I had sort of 2 years where I was working different hours, and it was mainly evenings and weekends, and I felt like I was working part-time, when in actual fact I was still doing something like 40 hours a week. My business still grew, but it grew slower, of course, and I felt frustrated that I was more restricted as to what I could do. I look back now and it went so quickly. I would love to have that time with her again, and it was so precious for us, but I achieved so much, although at the time I felt frustrated that I wasn't achieving enough as quickly enough. And COVID is going to be much like that. You will achieve great things, they will just be slower. And afterwards, if you can start a business now and make it successful, then the world is your oyster afterwards. One of my businesses that I started was literally at the height of a recession. And I remember a friend who's an accountant saying to me, Marie-Louise, this is very, very foolish of you, because, we're in a recession, you work in a luxury industry, and this is just not going to end well. And I said, I understand that. I've planned, I have everything here. I know what you're saying to me, and I know that it will be a lot harder. And it was a lot harder, but the business grew and it grew and it grew. And then after the recession ended, it just went absolutely amazing. So don't be put off. It will be a struggle. Owning and building a business is damn hard work. And that's why a lot of people kind of play at it, certainly, and it is what I would call a hobby. My business, I suppose, became almost a sort of lifestyle business for a couple of years, for the lifestyle that I had at the time, for when my daughter was little. And now she's at school and I'm back to doing 6 days a week, all day. I do slightly shorter day on Saturday now, but yeah, I'm open full time. I was open full time before, it was just that the hours were different. But yeah, I'm very much open your standard Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m, usually 10 p.m. Saturday, I tend to do a slightly shorter day. But yeah, your business has to work for you. There has to be a good balance, but equally it has to be a business and not a hobby. And so the way you plan it, the way you set it up, the brands you offer, the service you provide will make you stand out from those that are just doing a few nails while the kids are crawling around the floor, or those that are just, pitching up in the corner of their living room while their husband's watching the TV. I've heard all sorts of horror stories of how people are running their businesses. Wherever your business is, whether you're in somebody else's house or whether they're coming to your house, that has to be a professional setup and a professional business. And the client needs to want to come back. You're charging for a service, and the client has to get value for money. And you need her to want to come back. With regards to company names, I said I was going to come on to company names, didn't I? Because that's the thing that everybody wants to do first. Once you've done your plan, once you've done the boring things that you're probably sat there thinking, oh, Marie-Louise, that's boring. I don't want to think about money. I don't want to think about this, that and the other. I want to come up with a name. Fine. You'll probably have a name in mind. A couple of things to consider when coming up with a name. The most important being, check that the Intellectual Property Office don't already have somebody registered with that name that has a trademark. It can be very, very expensive for you. I have my name trademarked under certain categories. So I imagine if a hairdresser's opened an All About Me, my me is spelled M-I, but I imagine if a hairdresser's opened an All About Me, I probably wouldn't have much sort of sway on it to stop it. But if another beauty salon, which they did, another salon did open with an All About Me, wasn't in my area, but wasn't a million miles away and actually is enough to cause confusion with clients, then they had to change their name, and that was really costly for them because they were high street based. They had to change the salon signage, the price lists, any printing, loyalty cards, all that kind of thing. Uniforms, if they've got it on the uniform. So when you've come up with your name and you're delighted with it, please do just do a little search on the internet, on the intellectual property website, to ensure that nobody has it trademarked. Once you've done that, then just have a little general search to see how many other businesses are called that name. Whilst you might think it's your bright idea, somebody might have already had it. And if other people do have that name, just have a look and see how long they've been trading. So there are some names that you hear a lot of: Beauty Box. I mean, I had 1 million beauty boxes and 1 million Cloud9s actually when I used to work on the road. Nice names, but there were lots of them. So if there isn't one in your area, great. But just have a look, because even if somebody hasn't got a trademark on their business name, it may still be enough. If they've been trading for 10 years and they're in the next town to you, and suddenly you think, well, I really like that name and I'm different to them because I'm at home, blah, blah, blah. Still be wary, because they could still have a sort of legal right over it if they can prove that they've been trading under that name for a long period of time and that it is enough to cause confusion between clients. That's the kind of key thing. So, please just do some checks. There was even one that opened near to me called All About Nails, and at the time on my website each page had all about the face, all about the body, all about nails. And I did have a couple of clients come in and sort of say to me, oh, I didn't realise that you had I said, no, I haven't. And it was causing confusion. So I just sent a cease and desist letter, and she wasn't very happy about it. And as it happened, her business went out of business quite quickly anyway, so I needn't have worried too much. But still, you don't want to go to the expense of having all this lovely literature printed and uniforms or the car sign written or anything like that, and then find out that somebody else has the name and they have kind of the right over that name. So yeah, please do check that. Yeah, I think that's everything that I can think of. That's probably enough for you to be going on with, isn't it? If you have any questions, because obviously in a normal situation at this point now, I would open the floor to questions and hopefully be bombarded with people who are eager and excited and ready to go and have things that they want to know about immediately. If anybody does have any questions, please, you are welcome to contact me. I'm on Facebook, All About Me. As I say, the me is spelled M-I. I'm on Instagram, MLC Nail Artist. I'm sure you can probably contact me via the Guild News. They may curse me for saying that now, but I'm sure you probably can. But yeah, if I can help anybody, if you've got any questions or anything that you would like to know as a result of this, then please do get in touch. I'm happy to help you. What I would say is, please don't be daunted by what might seem like a mountain of things that you need to do. And please don't be put off, and please don't be disheartened if things don't go as well as you hoped to begin with, because what you have in your mind and what you set out on your business plan will get adapted as time goes on, because what you might think works one way, perhaps in reality won't. We've all done it. And you might need to adapt that slightly. And so whilst you have that plan, it will constantly be evolving and being reviewed and being adapted and being moulded to how people are reacting to the, or how business is reacting to how you go along step by step. So please don't be disheartened. Grow with it, evolve with it, change with it. That's life, isn't it? We set out plans personally. We think, right, I'm going to do this. And often it isn't that straightforward, and we might have to go a bit of the long way round, but we get there in the end. And that's my message to you. Now, whilst it might be a very difficult time economically as a country, from a health point of view with a pandemic, you've potentially lost your job or you can't find work, and it might feel like the worst time in the world, this is the very best time in your life, because you have this opportunity to do something that you would have put off and put off and put off. And in 15 years' time, you would have sat down and thought, wonder what would have happened if I'd started that business. Oh, if only I'd done this, that or the other. And you would have constantly put excuses in the way and hurdles in the way and potentially never done it. So this is your time. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, it really doesn't matter, because it's better to regret the things you did than the things you didn't do. And it's not that it won't work, it will. It just might have to be changed as you go along. It might not work the way you thought, but it will work. It will be great. You will get to work the hours that you want. You will get to earn the money that you deserve to earn. You will get to live the life that you want to, because out of awful things come great things. And this is what will happen for you. So it is hard work. There's a lot to do. but know that you can do it. Have confidence in your skill, in your ability, in your strength of character, in your determination. And that way, believe me, anything is possible. Good luck.